So, a question that I'm asked often is before you lost your weight, did you always struggle? Were you always a fat kid? So, I'm going to answer that question in its entirety and make sure that you stay until the end because big plot twist. Hi, I'm Daphne, and I'm the face behind Ageless After 50, where we ditch diet culture, reclaim our rhythm, and thrive unapologetically. So, picture it. 1970 something. Ugh, I can't believe I'm this old. But let me cook. So I was born in the early 70s and I weighed almost 9 pounds at birth. So yes, I was a big baby from the rib to the point where unfortunately I caused my mother to have diabetes, which is something that she reminded me of every day of her life until, may she rest in peace, she passed away. So with that said, yes, I was a heavy child. But I wasn't that much heavier than the other kids. This is back in the 70s. So this is back when we still had nutrient dense soil and good food, and we didn't have GMOs all in our food. I was maybe 10 to 15 pounds heavier than the other kids in my class, but I wasn't morbidly obese. So fast forward to when I was 6, and I explicitly remember I weighed about 60 pounds, which is a lot for a 6-year-old. I was definitely not tall for my height. I might have been a little bit under 4 feet. 60 pounds is pretty hefty for my weight. This is the late 70s. And my parents made the decision to put me on Weight Watchers. And this is back before Weight Watchers was cool. This is back in the days of Weight Watchers with carrot sticks, cottage cheese, celery sticks. There was no counting points. There was no all the cool stuff that you know with Weight Watchers now. That was not what it was back in the day. You went to scheduled weekly meetings. You had these embarrassing public weigh-ins. That is what I went through as a child. Forbidden to eat anything delicious or was considered scrumptious. So no chocolate, no bread, no cookies, no donut, you name it. If it was delicious, nope, it was not for me. So I specifically remember when people want to blame parents, I actually want to give parents grace. I snuck food. When my classmates saw the lunch that I was bringing to school, and again, I was bringing cottage cheese and celery sticks, and I may have had a treat with a tablespoon of peanut butter and 2 raisins. Child, imagine the terror that goes through your fellow 6-year-olds. "Oh my gosh, what are they do? What are they having you do? No, no." So they gave me all of their snacks and food. So I had all these Twinkies and Ding Dongs and just all of this just carbs and fat and all the stuff that you at the time, 6 years old, I didn't know when I'm supposed to eat it. But hey, it was a far cry from cottage cheese and celery sticks, so I ate it and I ate it all because we couldn't tell the teacher because the teacher had already been advised, "Hey, she's on a strict diet regimen. She can't eat this, that, and the third." And then I couldn't go home with it. I couldn't go home with my bounty of goodies, so I ate it. I would sneak and eat and eat and eat. And then we would go to these Weight Watchers meetings, and my weight would get higher and higher. I told you it started at 60, and then out of nowhere, it was like teetering at 80. So my mom got frustrated. Okay, this isn't working. Blaming it on Weight Watchers, totally my fault. So she kind of let it go and was like, well, she'll grow into her weight because I was pretty short. Well, that never happened. Unfortunately, around that same time, we had a relative move in. And I'm going to really gloss over this story, but that particular relative, and there's no other way. So, trigger warning. Trigger warning, that relative physically abused me. And what made it worse was everyone was aware of it and protected that relative. And they still did to this day. So that's the reason why I don't associate with my family. With that came the real sneak eating. I would take food. I remember sneaking into the school cafeteria and they had cinnamon rolls, and I would just eat cinnamon roll. Could still taste them. They roll. I remember one incident. Do you remember the chocolate bars that you would have to sell? and each bar cost $1. There was these thick chocolate bars. They had the silver foil on it, and it was wrapped in a white wrapper. And you always did it for some type of charity fund. I can't even remember who we were doing it for. I was a Girl Scout, so the Girl Scout cookies is another story for another day. But yeah, I ate those too. That was back when Girl Scout cookies were made with lard and good stuff, and they were delicious. And my favorite was the thin mints and the s'mores. But anyway, circling the airport, landing the plane. Those chocolate bars, you sell it for $2 and make $1 profit, and then the person you sold the most, I think you got like a reading prize competition, something. I don't remember the prize, but I remember those chocolate bars. Ooh, because they had the little ground. Oh, they were delicious. It- this is back in the 80s, back when food was pure. So we were all assigned a box. And of course, as an adult, I can do the math, but as a kid, you don't kind of grasp money the way you're supposed to. So when you sell one bar and you collect $2 and you give $1 back. So that's how, so I had 50 bars. I ended up eating all 50 bars by myself. And I don't have it like that. I didn't know what to do. So I finally had to confess to my mother. I ate the candy. She had to write a check. She had to write a check. And by that time, we were transitioned to Catholic school. So I was raised by the Irish nuns. May they all rest in peace. I adored them because they really molded me with the core fundamentals of just how to critically think and navigate through life. So I will always appreciate the experience that I went through attending private Catholic school. But during that time, because I was so small and because I was one of very few Black children who were there, I went through a lot. Not even going through the hair shaming because my hair, I went through Jerry curls, perms, and this is the 80s, so you can imagine the laughter. But I also went through an identity crisis. We were only one class per grade. So you were with the same group of kids every time you elevated to another grade. So I was in my fifth grade class. We were together for sixth grade. We were together for seventh grade and eighth grade. And spoiler alert, the majority of those children are now adults and we're all friends on Facebook. So that's the cool part. The not so cool part is I just struggle with my weight. And this was around the time that my grandmother was battling cancer. And she went quickly, but I was able to see her on her deathbed. And her last words to me was, Daphne, you got to lose the weight. At that time, I was in fifth grade. I was 10. I weighed 110 pounds. Again, I wasn't morbidly obese. I just weighed a little bit more than everybody else. We would have gym class. They would weigh all of us in front of each other. So everyone knew my weight. It seemed as I graduated from a grade, my weight went up 10 pounds. By the time our eighth grade graduation came, I was around 130, 140. The ironic part is that's how much I weigh now. But back then, it was too much. And then we moved. We moved from the small town that we were in, Central Georgia, to Metro Atlanta. My parents had divorced. That summer alone, during the course of my parents' divorce, I gained 100 pounds. So I jumped from 130, 140 to 230 pounds by the time I started ninth grade. I just remember that summer, I was already traumatized because I was leaving everything that I knew behind, the kids that I knew. Remind you, we'd all been together since fifth grade. So fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. That was all I knew. And now we're going into this big city, and I'm thrust from going from 250 people in one school to over 2,000 in a high school. And I don't even need to tell you, high school was straight hell. I started off 230. By the time I graduated, I was teetering 300. High school, pure hell. I found my groove in high school, though. I was just really smart. So I found a way to work and do work study and do joint enrollment in college. So I didn't have to stick around my senior year. I'd been bullied to filth in high school. To this day, I won't go to a high school reunion, I don't see the reason. And everyone's like, "Oh, you should go. Show off your weight loss. Show off." And I'm like, "For what? I had nothing to prove." They see me on Facebook. The people that I want to stay in touch with from high school, I'm in touch with. I see them. They have my number. Everybody else. Now, I will say the person who bullied me the most did apologize and take accountability for her actions years later, which I appreciate. So we're good. But then came college. College was awesome. College was fun, a little bit too much fun. Continued to gain weight. I was dieting in college. I would go on Atkins diet. Fiercely remember going on the Atkins diet in college and losing maybe 10 pounds here. But college was just so different. And it was the first place that I was where I was accepted for my size. I wasn't fat shamed. I was actually dating. I was making friends. It was so much fun. College was so much fun. This is in the early 90s. So 91 to 93, those are my hardcore college years. Oh, think about the music, the clubbing, the fun, the laughter, my dorm mates. Oh, it was amazing. It was a time to be alive. It was really, really fun. But the weight didn't stop creeping. Crept, it crept, and it continued to creep on. And then I got married. I got married to my first husband because everybody else was getting married. So I was like, oh, maybe I better do the same. Society has a tendency to do that when you feel like you're not on your own timing, you're on someone else's timing. And I did that. Unfortunately, I married an individual who was very violent. We're divorced. And through that time, I decided to go for my MBA. So I was attending class, and my first husband was an alcoholic, an addict, everything under the sun. And on one occasion, we only had one car, my car. He took my car on purpose so that I would miss my flight. So I ended up flunking my flight, and he didn't care. I graduated summa cum laude with a 3.75. And the only reason why it was not a 4.0 was because I missed that final. So after I received my MBA, I thought, okay, I'm going to get the job that I love. I'll be able to earn more money and life will be good. And by that time, I was teetering on 400 pounds. And I was going on job after job after job. And no one would hire me. They would take one look at me and you could see the look in their face. One of them, I'll never forget, he told me flat out, oh, you don't have that polished look. I've since seen him after and he's apologized and taken accountability, and I accept. As someone who is a survivor of abuse, the worst abuse are words. The verbal abuse is the worst because at least with the fist, that bruise can heal. Words hit you at your core. When they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, it's a damn lie. It's a lie. So I came home one day and I was frustrated from my job search. I wasn't getting any jobs. I've been going on interview after interview. And again, this is now late 90s. And I was at my wit's end. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had this huge student loan looming on me and no job. I had a mortgage and I had lost hope. And I was about to just sit and cry, have a good pity party, those gut wrenching Tyler Perry Medea plays type of cry. I was all set to do that. I mean, I was expanding my lungs. I was going in, y'all. and it had the TV running in the background. And it said, gastric bypass. Does it work? Stay tuned. News at 11. Something to that effect. Wait, what? Tried my tears? Gastric bypass? What? Let me stay tuned for this. That was early in the afternoon, so I stayed up till 11, watched it, and that was a paradigm shift. In that moment, I knew I was going to have gastric bypass. I did not have insurance. I did not have a job. I had no plan. All I knew was when I saw that it was going to happen. I was at my wit's end. I was going to Bally's every day. That's a gym back in the day. I was on Atkins. The weight was not coming off, and I was teetering at 400. In less than 3 months, I was having surgery. I got a job that had health insurance that covered my surgery. My employer at that time was very generous, very gracious. I'm forever grateful. September 12th, 2000 is when I had gastric bypass. Within the first year, I dropped 200 pounds. I was in the gym every single day, no breaks, none, 365 days. Then the next year is when I lost the remaining 30. And I thought life was good. The support groups I had joined had kind of abandoned me because they didn't expect that I was going to lose so much weight. I got so small. I got down to 162. That was my basement bottom weight, 162. And everything was so good for 2, 3, 4 years. And then trouble ensued. You trade one addiction for another. So food, I couldn't do that anymore at the time. So switched to alcohol. And I was doing it socially. And I was maintaining. And then the weight kind of crept up. And I stabilized around 185. And with my bone structure and my height, I just looked thick with it. I wasn't skinny, thick. Another 10 years went by. Good. And then I went on a trip to Nassau, Bahamas, to visit a very dear friend of mine. And on the way back, I thought I had food poisoning. I just was viciously sick. But when those symptoms continued for another week, my cousin mentioned to me, oh, you might want to go to the doctor because food poisoning doesn't last for a week or it's not supposed to. That was the start of my Crohn's diagnosis. It took 8 months to be diagnosed with Crohn's. The damage that was done to my body is astronomical. So through that journey came prednisone. My weight ballooned to 240 and then 280 at one point. And then life just became chasing diet after diet after diet. So sometimes you would see me, I'd be smaller, then thicker, small, thick, and it would just yo-yo. And of course, I'm Haitian. So the way your aunts greet you when they see you at any kind of family gathering, oh, you look a lot bigger than the last time I saw you. They always gauge you by your weight. Snort. And then the panini hit because, I don't know what we can call this on YouTube. So the panini hit in 2020. I told you I was a social drinker, but I had one rule. I never kept it in the house. So I didn't until the panini hit and it became essential. I was laid off from the job that I loved. So I just drink and drink. And my drinking got out of control. I didn't think I had a problem. And at the time, I wasn't doing any more drinking than everybody else during those times. But fast forward, it took a conversation with my mother, and it wasn't a good conversation. It was a conversation when I realized that she and I were in alternate realities. And the reason why I was drinking so much was because I was trying to numb everything from when I was 6. And when I heard her perspective, and it was just like, again, an alternate reality, I realized I'm drinking myself into my own grave to try to fit someone else's alternate reality. Why? That was the moment I stopped. So as of December 30th, 2021, no more spirits. So landing the plane, because I realized this video is probably going a lot longer than I normally have to, and I have to edit. I battled my 40s and could not get below 162. But I was on a liquid diet. Spirits. I just drank. Didn't eat. No nourishment. I was so unkind to my body. But then I had enough. I was like, I'm going to do this my way. I'm not going to face my 50s with the trauma of my 20s, my 30s, and my 40s. And that's when I developed the Ageless AF eating rhythm method, where I remixed what I knew with intermittent fasting and customized it, fit my needs. I have Crohn's disease. I'm menopausal. I suffer from anxiety, depression. I'm 3 years into my sobriety, more than 3 years now. So I needed something that was going to fit my needs and not be in the rigidity of any regimen. And yes, I had my blood lab work checked out. And yes, I had the blessing from my doctor. And before I knew it, that 162 dropped down to 135, holding. I entered my 50s, 130, just holding. I couldn't believe it. It was a paradigm shift. Once I realized why I was eating, why I was drinking, why I was not being kind to myself, everything made sense. And now I live to nourish my body. I live to reclaim my rhythm, and I live to thrive unapologetically. So if you like what you've heard, share this with a woman over 50 who you think could use some inspiration. It's been a long journey, and it ain't over because I'm still here. I appreciate you joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more content where that comes. And remember, always be kind to yourself.